right? And so when something new comes out like this, people don't understand it. New technology, there's this learning curve when things come to market that there's resistance because it's brand new, right? People don't know what it is. So we were just starting to come out and bring people in to, use our product. And then the pandemic hit, right? And so we couldn't really talk to anybody. I mean, of course, we were trying to talk to people, and we were talking on Zoom, but it's just different because when you're really a baby company and trying to build those relationships. So that was a big, a pretty significant obstacle. It definitely slowed us down. Um, but on the other hand, it let us think more deeply and build our platform and hone our process and hone our teleneurology consultation, right? And so that was the advantage. It slowed us down so that we went deep and improved our product, but it slowed us down, both of those things, right? So then, of course, when we started getting more business, it's the glitches and some of these things I'm a bystander at because like the platform developers are working on that, like trying to smooth out. We've gone through so many iterations, many iterations on improving the platform. And my role is more to make comments about how this handles patient flow and, point out the things are going wrong. But, we rely on the developers, the development team. And I mean, we do all meet, but we all have our roles, to play. But then when we started with the remote therapeutic monitoring, okay, so that's another thing, and it's another technological application that people don't know about, but Apple Watches have helped us a lot. Okay, the Apple Watches it's basically a remote therapy. It does remote therapeutic monitoring and remote patient monitoring. And so more and more people are getting them, and that's helping us explain to people what we're trying to do because people can relate to it better because they're using their wearables, multiple wearables. We can talk about that because we integrate with many, we're like device agnostic, we call ourselves. So we integrate with many devices. But in essence, the other thing that we are still working with, that more people understand now, is our use of heart rate variability. Okay, so on your Apple Watch, your Garmin, your Withings, whatever it is that you use, it tracks HRV. And people are like, heart rate? No, it's not heart rate as in beats per minute. Like when I feel my neck or my patient, I'm listening to their heart, I'm listening to the beats per minute, which is, of course, very valuable. That's something we need to know. But heart rate variability is different than that. So, what is heart rate variability? All right, when you look at an EKG and you see the little peaks, okay, those peaks are the RR interval. So even if the heart is like, say, 60 beats a minute, when you measure it in milliseconds, those peaks are doing this. Okay, they're varying. That's what heart rate variability is. It's the distance between the peaks. So who cares? Why do you want to know? It's very important and crucial because this is what it does. It's the marriage of neurology and cardiology, and we have a cardiologist on our team too. And this is when we both our eyes light up: heart rate variability. Okay, so heart rate variability is a barometer for how stressed the nervous system is. So if your heart rate variability is high, you're relaxing, you're feeling great, maybe at the beach. If your heart rate variability is low, perhaps somebody almost hit you in their car, right? Like you're in fight, flight, freeze. And so how do we use that? When people have a concussion, their heart rate variability plummets, it goes low. And as they start recovering, it improves and as they go through different treatments. And so that's the physiologic parameter we're tracking in remote patient monitoring, right? That's what we're doing there.
I have an odd question for you because I mean this is not my background and it's not
Mhm.
it's not where I'm educated at all. But your line of comments there lead me to a different level of question. So obviously we have this electrical system in our brain, right? That's
Mhm.
constantly going to control different things
Right.
across our body. inside of our brain, though, we also have this ventricle that interacts with the CSF that's there, right? So
Right.
um, if there is fluctuation in our heart rate, because I would imagine that the flow of cerebral spinal fluid is pretty in rhythm probably with our heart rate. I would imagine, I just guessing here. But so if those things are out of sync, does that mean that there's also some sort of CSF flow difference in our head then?
So that's a great question. And, your intuition is good because the heart and the brain definitely talk to each other. And that, so we can get into that. They talk and they talk very intimately, but it's not through CSF. It's not the
Okay.
language they speak. The language they speak together is electricity.
Hmm.
Okay, so when people have a stroke in a certain part of the brain, their heart rate will go way, way down. When
Hmm.
people have seizures that go over the brain pacemaker, their heart can stop, they can die. That's called sudden SUDEP. We call it sudden unexplained death in epilepsy. Okay, so they definitely talk to each other. But the real way they talk is through the vagus nerve. Okay, and that's something I haven't gotten into yet, but we can. And we treat the heart rate variability using vagus nerve stimulation in the neck. So I didn't get into all of our treatment. I went straight for the TMS, which is awesome. But we use a lot of vagus nerve stimulation, and that's how the brain and the heart talk right there. Yes, and that's cardiology and neurology also meet there. And the cardiologist, Dr. Savello, and I spend a lot of time talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you know, look, as an outside viewer and body owner, right? I sort of, I get to sort of hypothesize on these things, occasionally, and so it's a lot of fun for me to hear how it
Mhm.
actually works as well, because it's not where I've studied. But yeah, so can you tell me a little bit more about how remote therapeutic monitoring differs from remote patient monitoring?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so this is really innovative stuff and it's where medicine's going to go. So let me back up a little bit and talk about the Apple Watch again. So look,
Yep.
I'm into my Apple Watch too, right? I'm tracking like my meds from exercise, my heart rate variability. I get upset, I see mine plummet, the whole shebang, right? My sleep. Okay, so we're tracking, a lot of us are tracking this stuff, but our doctors really don't have it. Now, when I'm with my cardiology friends, they want to see my iPhone to look at all my data, right? And they're like, oh, you're doing good. Oh, you're having problems here. Okay, but it's pretty fun because I see a group of older people, even for me, they're really into it. And they bring their phone and we look at their heart rate variability, and my cardiology colleagues tell me the same. So we're in this transition phase now where we're starting to collect this physiological data on ourselves. Like a lot of non-diabetic people are tracking their glucose, right? And then the Withings scale, which we can get into too, because we partner with Withings. But so we're going to more and more have data, like actual data that we're collecting. It's a lot of data, and that's another issue. And it's going to change all our care and truly personalize medicine. And we're in that wave right now. Okay, so how does that come around to your question? All right, so remote therapeutic monitoring, that's the subjective stuff, which is we need to talk to our patients. People will tell us, right? So that's the concussion questionnaire. These are like we ask people, we do the Beck's depression scale and other ones where there's so many studies, we can understand what these responses mean about how depressed is the person. We do the Hamilton scale, that's an anxiety scale. We do the PTSD scales. We use the civilian questionnaire that the VA has. That's the one we use. And so we have all this subjective data, which is deeply valuable, right? And so that's what remote therapeutic monitoring is. But then the remote patient monitoring is actual physiologic data. So right now, in this particular part of our company, we're using the heart rate variability. Okay, but like I said, we're device agnostic and we are involved with other things where we use pulse ox, we use weight. Okay,